Park Tae had been alone on this planet for 11 months. He had counted every single day by making marks on the wall of his shelter. 332 marks. 332 days of eating strange roots and drinking filtered rainwater. 332 days of talking to himself just to hear a voice. He had been a cargo pilot, a simple job. Fly supplies from one station to another. Nothing dangerous, nothing exciting. But then his engine had failed over this unnamed jungle planet, and his ship had crashed, and his distress beacon had broken, and suddenly Park Tae was alone on a world that nobody knew existed. He had survived. That was what humans did. They survived. He built a shelter from the wreckage of his ship. He learned which plants were safe to eat. He made tools from metal scraps. He fought off the strange animals that hunted at night. Every day was hard, but every day he woke up and kept going. Then yesterday, he had seen the fire in the sky, another ship, falling, burning, crashing somewhere to the east. Tae had run toward it, not because he was brave, not because he was a hero. He ran because another ship meant other people. It meant rescue. It meant he might finally go home. What he found was not what he expected. The ship was destroyed. Pieces of it were scattered across a wide area of jungle. He searched for survivors, but found only bodies. Strange alien bodies. Creatures with scales and 4 arms and large dark eyes. He had never seen this species before. The translation chip in his neck did not recognize their language. He was about to give up when he heard a tiny sound. It came from under a piece of metal. Tae lifted it and found a basket. Inside the basket were 2 small creatures. They looked like the dead aliens, but tiny. They had to be babies. They were cold. Their bodies felt like ice against his fingers. Their breathing was so slow that he almost could not see it. Their eyes were closed, and their small limbs hung loose and still. Tae did not know anything about alien biology. He did not know what species these creatures were. He did not know if they were dangerous or poisonous, or carrying diseases that could kill him. He did not know if touching them would hurt them or help them. But he knew they were dying. He could see it. He could feel it. These tiny lives were slipping away, and if he did nothing, they would be gone. So Park Tae did the only thing he could think of. He ripped open his thermal jacket. He pulled up his shirt. He pressed both small creatures against the bare skin of his chest and wrapped everything tight around them. His body was warm. All humans were warm. 37 degrees Celsius. Always. It was just how humans worked. Where other species needed external heat or special environments, humans made their own warmth. They were like living furnaces, burning energy constantly to maintain that perfect temperature. The baby creatures were so cold against his skin that it almost hurt. But Tae held them there. He held them and he did not let go. For 6 hours he sat in the jungle with 2 alien babies pressed to his chest. Rain fell and he covered them with leaves. Night came and he built a small fire with one hand while keeping the other wrapped around the tiny bodies. Strange animals circled in the darkness, drawn by the smell of the crash, and Tae shouted at them and threw rocks until they went away. He did not sleep. He could not sleep. Every few minutes he checked to make sure the babies were still breathing. Their small hearts beat against his skin, and he counted every beat like a prayer. Sometime in the middle of the night, something changed. The babies began to feel warmer. Their breathing became stronger. Their tiny claws, which had been loose and limp, started to grip his skin. They were holding on to him. They were waking up. By morning, they were alive. Not just alive, but healthy. They made small chirping sounds and pressed themselves deeper into his chest. Their little claws hooked gently into his chest hair, and they seemed to be looking for the warmest spots on his body. He could feel them nuzzling against him like they thought he was their parent. Tay looked down at them and felt something strange in his heart. These were not human babies. They were aliens, strange creatures from a species he had never met. But somehow, that did not matter. They were small and helpless, and they needed him, and that was enough. "Okay, little ones," he whispered. "I guess you are stuck with me for now." He named them in his mind. The slightly bigger one with the darker scales, he called Ori. The smaller one, with the spots on her head, he called Luma. He did not know if these were good names. He did not even know if they could hear him. But it felt wrong to think of them as just the babies. They were Ori and Luma, and they were his responsibility now. Tay stood up slowly, making sure not to disturb them. They had parents somewhere. They had to have parents. Creatures this small did not travel alone. Somewhere in this jungle, there were adults looking for these babies. Adults who were probably scared and heartbroken and sure that their children were dead. He needed to find them. Tay started walking through the jungle, following the trail of wreckage. Ori and Luma stayed pressed against his chest, warm and safe and sleeping peacefully. They did not know that he was a stranger. They did not know that he was a different species. They only knew that he was warm and that his heart was beating and that they were not alone. For Park Tay, that was enough reason to keep them safe. For any human, that would have been enough. Because humans did not ask questions when babies were in danger. They just acted. It was built into their blood. Kira could not believe what she was seeing. Her mind told her it was impossible. Everything she knew about biology, about survival, about the universe itself, told her that this could not be real. And yet, there it was, right in front of her eyes. A creature stood at the edge of the clearing. It was tall and thick, covered in strange soft skin, with no scales at all. Its face was flat, almost like it had been pushed in. Two small eyes sat close together at the front of its head, not on the sides like proper eyes should be. It had a tiny mouth and a strange bump in the middle of its face. Hair grew from the top of its head, dark and messy, and covered in leaves. But Kira did not care about any of that. She only cared about what the creature was carrying against its chest. Ori and Luma were wrapped in some kind of cloth, pressed against the creature's bare skin. Their small bodies rose and fell with peaceful breathing. Their claws were gripping the creature's chest hair. They were not dead, they were not cold. They were sleeping the warm, comfortable sleep of hatchlings in a perfect nest. "That is impossible," Ren whispered beside her. His voice shook. "That is completely impossible." The creature saw them and stopped moving. It tilted its head to one side, looking at them with those strange, forward-facing eyes. Then it made a sound. A low, gentle sound, like it was trying to show that it was not a threat. Slowly, carefully, the creature knelt down. It moved like it understood that sudden movements would scare them. Its large hands came up and began to unwrap the cloth around the babies. Every motion was soft and careful. Every motion showed that this creature cared about the tiny lives against its chest. Kira tried to stand, but her legs would not work. She tried to crawl toward her babies, but pain exploded through her body, and she fell. A cry escaped her throat, mixing grief and hope and disbelief. The creature made another sound. Then it did something unexpected. It began to move toward her, slowly, carefully, one small step at a time. It kept its body low, keeping the babies at a level where she could see them clearly. When it was close enough, Kira could see the rise and fall of her children's breathing. She could see the healthy color of their scales. She could smell their familiar scent mixed with the strange smell of this alien creature. They were real. They were alive. They were right there. "I think these belong to you," the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough, but the words came through the translation chip in her neck. "They are good babies, strong. Tears fell from Kira's eyes. Velans did not cry often. Their bodies did not make tears easily. But now they fell like rain down her face. She reached out with her working arm, and the creature leaned closer, letting her touch Ori's small head. Ori chirped at her touch. His eyes opened slightly, saw her, and closed again. He was comfortable. He was safe. He did not want to leave his warm spot on the creature's chest. "How?" Kira managed to say. "How is this possible? They should be dead. They cannot survive without heat, without a parent's body. How did you keep them alive?" The creature seemed to think about this question. Then it shrugged, a gesture that looked strange on its alien shoulders. "They were cold," it said simply, "so I made them warm. Humans run hot, 37 degrees, all the time." It touched its own chest, next to where the babies rested. "I just held them here, against my skin, all night." Kira stared at the creature, at this human, as it called itself. She had heard of humans before. All Velans had. They were listed as a dangerous species. Predators with front-facing eyes and pursuit hunting abilities. Category 7 on the danger scale. The diplomatic briefings had warned her to be careful around them. Nobody had ever said that humans were warm. Nobody had ever said that they would hold alien babies against their skin for an entire night to keep them alive. Nobody had ever mentioned that these dangerous predators would search through a jungle to return lost children to their parents. Ren had managed to drag himself closer. His face showed the same shock that Kira felt. "You did not have to do this," he said to the human. "We are strangers to you, different species. Our children offer you no benefit. Why would you risk yourself for them?" The human's small eyes looked at Ren. Something moved in those eyes, something soft and warm. "On my world," the human said slowly, like it was choosing its words carefully, "one of them is this: every child is everyone's child." It looked down at Ori and Luma, and its flat face changed shape in a way that Kira somehow understood was affection. They were cold, they were scared, they were alone. That is all I needed to know. Kira felt something break inside her chest. Not a bad break, a different kind of break. Like a wall falling down, like a door opening. "Can you help me?" she asked. "I cannot move. The metal is on my legs. Can you help me hold my babies?" The human nodded. It moved around her, studying the wreckage on her legs. Then it bent down and gripped the metal with its hands. Muscles moved under its strange skin. A sound of effort came from its throat. The metal lifted. Ren pulled Kira free. Then the human knelt beside her again, and carefully, so carefully, began to transfer the sleeping hatchlings to her chest. Ori chirped in complaint at leaving the warm spot, but settled quickly against his mother's body. Luma did not even wake up. Kira held her children and wept. The human sat beside her and watched. It did not ask for thanks. It did not seem to expect anything. It just sat there, quiet and calm, like saving alien babies was a normal thing to do. The days after the rescue were strange and wonderful and difficult all at once. Kira and Ren were injured badly and could not move much. The human, who told them his name was Park Tae, became their caretaker without being asked. He brought them food and water. He built a shelter over them to keep off the rain. He found the emergency beacon in the wreckage and worked for hours to fix it. But most importantly, he helped with the babies. Velan hatchlings needed constant warmth. Kira's body was broken and weak. She could not maintain the right temperature for very long. Ren's injuries had given him a fever, which made him too hot one moment and too cold the next. Neither of them could give Ori and Luma the steady heat they needed. Tae could. He would sit beside Kira for hours, holding the hatchlings against his chest while she rested. His body never changed temperature. It stayed at that perfect 37 degrees no matter what. They would chirp and nuzzle against his skin. searching for the warmest spots. They fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat. "You have not slept," Kira said to him one evening. 3 days had passed since the crash. The emergency beacon was finally working, sending signals into space. Help would come soon, but Tay had not slept for most of those 3 days. Every time Kira opened her eyes, he was awake, watching over them. Tay shrugged. It was a gesture she was learning to understand. "I can sleep later," he said. "Right now, you need help." "But why?" Kira asked. This question had been building inside her for days. "Why are you doing all of this? You do not know us. You owe us nothing. We crashed onto your planet and made your life harder. Why do you care so much?" Tay was quiet for a long moment. Ori was sleeping against his chest, making small sounds with each breath. Tay looked down at the tiny creature, and his face became soft. "Where I come from," he said slowly, "we have a belief. We believe that children are sacred. Not just our own children, all children. When a baby needs help, you help it. You do not ask whose baby it is. You do not ask what species it is. You do not ask what you will get in return. You just help." He looked up at the darkening sky. Stars were beginning to appear, unfamiliar patterns that Kira did not recognize. "I have been alone on this planet for almost a year," Tay continued. "No other humans, no other intelligent life. Just me and the jungle and the things that hunt at night. I thought I might die here. I thought nobody would ever know what happened to me." His hand came up and gently touched Luma, who was sleeping against Kira's chest. The baby made a happy sound at his touch. "Then your ship crashed," Tay said, "and they were so small, and so cold, and so close to death. And I thought, this is why I survived. This is why I did not die. So I could be here, right now, to keep these little ones alive." Kira felt tears forming in her eyes again. "You believe you survived for this purpose? To save strangers?" "Maybe," Tay said. "Or maybe there is no purpose. Maybe the universe is just random and cold. But I choose to believe that my survival meant something, and if I had let your babies die when I could have saved them, then what was the point of surviving at all?" Ren, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "Our people classify humans as dangerous, Category 7. We are taught to fear you." Tay made a sound that Kira was learning meant amusement. "We probably are dangerous," he admitted. "Humans have done terrible things throughout our history. We have fought wars. We have destroyed our own planet in some places. We can be violent and cruel and selfish." He paused, looking down at Ori again. "But we can also be kind. We can love creatures that are not like us. We can protect strangers with our own bodies. We can go without sleep and food and safety to keep others alive." He smiled, another expression Kira was learning. "Humans are complicated. We are capable of great evil and great good. The trick is choosing which one we want to be." "And you chose good," Kira said softly. "Today I did," Tay agreed. "That is all any of us can do. Choose good today, and then choose it again tomorrow." That night, a sound came from the sky. A ship, a Velen rescue ship, following the emergency beacon. Lights appeared above the jungle, bright and beautiful, and Kira felt hope flooding through her broken body. Help had come. They were going to be saved. But as she watched the ship descend, she realized something. She did not want to leave Tay behind. This human who had saved her children, this stranger who had become something more than a stranger, he deserved to be rescued too. "Come with us," she said to him. "Leave this planet. Come with us." Tay's eyes widened. "You would do that? Take me with you?" "You saved our children," Ren said firmly. "You are part of our family now. Where we go, you go. This is the Velen way." For the first time since they had met him, Park Tay's eyes became wet. He blinked quickly and looked away, but Kira saw. This strong human who had protected her babies, who had gone without sleep for days, who had fought off predators with nothing but a stick, was crying because someone wanted to take him home. Maybe humans were not so different from felons after all. 6 years passed, like water flowing down a river. Kira's body healed. Ren's leg was fixed with advanced medicine. Ori and Luma grew from tiny hatchlings into strong young felons, who stood as tall as their parents. And Park Tae became something he never expected to be. A bridge between species, a symbol of what humans could be at their best. The story of the human who saved alien babies spread across the galaxy like fire. News channels told it. Schools taught it. Scientists studied it. Diplomats discussed it in their meetings. Everyone wanted to know about the warm-blooded predator who had held dying hatchlings against his chest and brought them back to life. Kira had risen through the ranks of Velen government. She was now a full ambassador, one of the most powerful voices in her species' leadership. And today, she stood before the Allied Species Council, ready to deliver the most important speech of her career. Representatives from 50 different species sat in curved rows, their translator chips turning her words into languages she could not imagine. Humans had recently been discovered by the wider galaxy. They were being evaluated, classified, judged. Most species wanted to label them as dangerous, Category 7, like the Velens had done years ago. Some wanted even stronger restrictions. Humans were predators, they argued. Their bodies ran at dangerous temperatures. Their history was filled with violence. They could not be trusted. Kira was here to change that. 6 years ago, she began, her voice steady and strong. I crashed on an unknown planet with my family. My ship was destroyed, my mate was injured, and my 2 babies, only 3 cycles old, were lost in the wreckage. The chamber was silent. Every species knew what that meant for Velen hatchlings. Every species understood the death sentence of being separated from a parent's warmth. I gave up hope, Kira continued. I accepted that my children were dead. There was no other possibility. No species in the known galaxy could have kept Velen hatchlings alive without proper equipment. It was simply not biologically possible. She paused and activated a holographic display. An image appeared above the chamber. It showed a younger Park Tae, dirty and tired, sleeping against a tree. 2 small Velen hatchlings were curled against his bare chest, their claws hooked into his skin, their faces peaceful and content. I was wrong, Kira said. A human found my babies in the wreckage. He did not know what species they were. He did not know how to care for them. He only knew that they were cold and dying, so he did what humans do. He held them against his body and kept them warm with his own heat. Some species shifted in their seats. The Velen representatives sat very still, their eyes fixed on the image of their ambassador's children. For 6 hours, this human held my babies against his chest. Through rain, through darkness, through dangerous predators circling in the night. He did not sleep. He did not eat. He did not think about himself at all. He only thought about keeping 2 tiny strangers alive. Kira turned to face the section of the chamber where the human representative sat. Park Tae was there, his hair now gray at the edges, his face showing the lines of 6 years of life among aliens. Beside him sat Ori and Luma, young adults now, pressing close to the man they called their warm father. We classified humans as Category 7 dangerous, Kira said, her voice rising. We looked at their forward-facing eyes and saw predators. We looked at their body temperature and saw biological weapons. We looked at their history and saw violence. She shook her head slowly. We did not see the whole picture. Yes, humans are predators, but they use that predator instinct to protect the weak, not to hunt them. Yes, humans run hot, but they use that heat to warm those who need it, not to burn them. Yes, humans have violence in their history, but they also have love. Such deep, powerful love that they will suffer and sacrifice and bleed for creatures they have never met. Kira walked toward the center of the chamber, where the light from 100 stars fell through the crystal ceiling. The human who saved my children did not ask for a reward. He did not demand an alliance or political favor. He did not even want to be thanked. When I asked him why he did it, do you know what he said? She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species she had once feared. He said, "They were cold. They were scared. That is all I needed to know." The chamber was absolutely silent. Even the translators seemed to pause. "I am asking this council to reclassify humanity," Kira said. "Not as Category 7 dangerous, but as Category 1 protected allies. Because a species that will give up sleep and safety and comfort for strangers' children is not our enemy. They are exactly the kind of allies this galaxy needs." The vote came 2 hours later. It was unanimous in favor. That evening, there was a celebration on the Velen homeworld. Park Tae stood on a balcony overlooking a crystal city, watching 2 suns set in a purple sky. He had come so far from that jungle planet, so far from the cargo pilot who thought he would die alone. Footsteps approached behind him. Then familiar warmth pressed against his sides. Ori on his left, Luma on his right. They were too big now to fit against his chest like they used to. But they still pressed close, seeking his warmth, listening to his heartbeat. "Are you happy, Tae father?" Luma asked. Tae smiled and wrapped his arms around both of them. They were strange, these alien children who had become his family. Their scales were cool against his warm skin. Their 4 arms wrapped around him in ways that human arms never could. But they were his. They would always be his. "Yes, little ones," he said softly. "I am happy." Above them, the stars began to appear. A whole galaxy of species, watching humanity with new eyes, seeing not just the danger, but the warmth. All because one man had chosen to hold 2 cold babies against his chest and keep them alive through the night. Sometimes, that was all it took to change everything. The ship was dying. Kira knew this the moment the first alarm started screaming through the halls. Red lights flashed everywhere. The floor shook so hard that she fell against the wall. Her mate Ren grabbed her arm and pulled her toward their sleeping chamber. "The babies!" Kira shouted over the noise. "We need to get to the babies!" They ran through the shaking ship. Other crew members rushed past them, heading for the escape pods. But Kira did not care about escape pods. She only cared about 2 small creatures waiting in the nursery room. Ori and Luma were only 3 cycles old. They were so tiny that they could fit in Kira's palm. Their scales were still soft and pink. Their eyes had just opened a few days ago. They needed warmth. They needed their parents. Without body heat from Kira or Ren, they would die in less than 2 hours. This was the curse of the Velen species. Their babies could not make their own heat. They depended completely on their parents to keep them warm. It was why Velens never traveled with young children. It was why Kira had argued against this diplomatic mission. But the council had insisted. They said it was safe. They said nothing would go wrong. They were wrong. Kira burst into the nursery and scooped up both hatchlings. They made small chirping sounds against her chest. She could feel their tiny hearts beating fast. They were scared. She pressed them close and wrapped her thermal cloth around them. "We need to get to the pods," Ren said. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed fear. They ran again. The ship tilted hard to one side. Through the windows, Kira could see a green and brown planet growing larger and larger. They were falling. The ship was falling toward this unknown world, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. They never made it to the escape pods. The ship hit the atmosphere, and everything became fire and noise. Kira felt herself thrown through the air. She hit something hard. Pain exploded through her body. She tried to hold on to her babies, but something struck her head, and the world went black. When Kira opened her eyes again, everything was quiet. Too quiet. She was lying on her back, looking up at a strange orange sky through broken metal. Green plants grew all around her. The air smelled wet and thick. Insects made clicking sounds somewhere nearby. She tried to move and screamed. A heavy piece of the ship was lying across her legs. She could not feel her left arm. Blood covered her face. But none of that mattered. None of it. The nest basket was empty. Her babies were gone. "Ori," she whispered, then louder. "Luma, Ori, Luma." No answer came. Only the sounds of this alien jungle. Kira's mind began to work through the terrible math. She had been unconscious. She did not know for how long, but the sky was different now. The sun had moved. At least 3 hours had passed, maybe more. 3 hours. Her babies could not survive for 2 hours without warmth. This planet was warm, yes, but not warm enough. Not the specific temperature that Velen hatchlings needed. Without a parent's body heat, their small hearts would slow down. Their breathing would stop. They would fall into a cold sleep and never wake up. Her children were dead. They had to be dead. There was no other possibility. Kira made a sound that she had never made before. It came from somewhere deep inside her. It was not a scream or a cry. It was something worse. It was the sound of a mother whose children were gone forever. The sound echoed through the jungle and sent birds flying from the trees. "Kira!" a voice called from somewhere to her left. "Kira, where are you?" It was Ren. He was alive. "Here," she called back. Her voice was broken. "I am here." Ren appeared through the twisted metal. He was limping badly. His leg was bent in a way that legs should not bend. But he was moving. He was coming to her. When he saw the empty nest basket, he stopped. His whole body became still. He understood immediately. Every Velen would understand. "No," he said softly. "No, no, no. They are gone," Kira said. The words hurt more than her broken body. Something took them, or they crawled away. It does not matter. They are gone, and they are. She could not say the word. She could not say dead. Ren fell to his knees beside her. Together they wept. The sound of Velen grief filled the strange jungle. 2 parents, broken and bleeding, mourning children they would never hold again. Time passed. The orange sun began to set. The jungle grew darker and filled with new sounds. Dangerous sounds. But Kira and Ren did not move. They did not care about danger anymore. What was the point of surviving when their children were gone? Then Kira heard something strange. It was a sound she did not recognize. A low rumbling noise. Almost like a song, but deeper. It was coming closer. Something was moving through the jungle toward them. Kira lifted her head. Fear mixed with her grief. Was it a predator? Was it coming to finish what the crash had started? The bushes moved. Something large was pushing through them. And then Kira heard another sound. A small sound. A familiar sound. A chirp. Her heart stopped. That was impossible. That was completely impossible. And yet she knew that sound. She knew it better than she knew her own voice. It was the sound her babies made when they were warm and comfortable and safe. But they could not be alive. They could not be. The bushes parted, and Kira saw something that her mind could not understand.